Okay, just making sure that we do have participants coming in. Perfect. All right, it is 12:02, so Ellie, I'm going to go ahead and start. Good afternoon and a huge welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the official Climate Communications Alliance launch event. We're thrilled to see you all here today, ready to advance the dialogue on climate action. We've got an important and exciting agenda planned, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us at the start of this vital new initiative. Before we dive in, let's quickly cover a few housekeeping items just to make sure everyone can follow along comfortably. So first, let's confirm your audio and video are working. So if you can hear my voice and see the screen share clearly, you're good to go. You can adjust your screen layout using your view options, typically in the upper right-hand corner, to select between speaker, gallery, or side-by-side mode, whatever works best for you. Please note that the session is being recorded and a link to the recording will be shared with all registered attendees shortly after the event concludes. To engage with our speakers, please drop all your questions into the dedicated Q&A feature. We're keeping the separate main chat box just for technical support. So if you're having trouble with your audio, video, or navigating Zoom, just message me through the chat box and I'll try to support you. If you'd prefer to ask a question live during the Q&A, you can use the raise hand icon. We'll call out on your name and ask to enable your microphone so you can unmute and ask your question directly. With all the technical details addressed, I'm thrilled to introduce the person who has been instrumental in shaping the vision for this organization and who will be leading today's discussion. Please join me in giving a big warm welcome to the Managing Director of the Climate Communications Alliance, Ellie Wines. Ellie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Nora. Much appreciated. And thank you all so much to everyone who's joined us today. I've been completely blown away by the level of enthusiasm and support for this initiative. For today's webinar alone, we've had 180 people from all around the world sign up, from Canada, the US, the UK, Dubai, New Zealand, India. It's incredible, and I think it really echoes the experience I've been having lately when I speak to everybody working in this field, in that there's this real search for community. So I'm so glad we were able to come together today, and thank you for making the time to get to know us. So as Nora mentioned, my name's Ellie Wines. I am a climate communication consultant, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Climate Communications Alliance. I'm going to be spending a little bit of time today introducing the Alliance, sharing what we're all about. We're going to do a tour of the community platform. But because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, I thought it might be nice to hear first from some of our early members about why they joined the Alliance and why this community matters to them. So in that video, you got a little very short introduction to some of our amazing founding members and early joiners of this community. We're going to hear from some of them later on in the session today. I'm so excited to introduce them to you. Just an extraordinary group of people who've given their time to make this place what it is and to make it the best possible place that it can be. So I'm enormously grateful for their support, and I'm very excited to introduce them shortly. First of all, though, what exactly is the Climate Communications Alliance? This is a global community of practice, bringing together people who talk about the climate so that we can support and enhance each other's work. And I use that phrasing really deliberately because not all of us have the word communications in our job title, but there are so many people out there who do talk about the climate on a regular basis. Already in this community, we have scientists, we have economists, we have policy experts, people whose job it is to reach out to the community on a regular basis to talk about the impacts of climate change on all of our lives, but who may not be necessarily trained communicators or may not have that as part of their role. So if that resonates for you, know that this community is a place for you. It's a broad church. It's really designed for everybody and to be a place where we can work together to amplify each other's impact. There's really, in many ways, I started this community for myself. I had stepped down from my role as the executive director of a national nonprofit about 18 months prior. And I was really enjoying the freedom and flexibility of working for myself again. I'm very happy doing that. But what I really missed was the true benefit, I think, of being in a team environment when you have a conversation with someone who's got a completely different set of skills and experience. And they say, hey, have you tried approaching this problem in this way? Or have you considered looking at this? And it just makes your own work so much better. And I looked around and I realized that I couldn't possibly be the only one feeling this way. And that if we really do want to move the dial on climate and to bring everybody on this journey with us, then we need this unified communications message. We need this kind of shared approach. So the Climate Communications Alliance has three main goals. The first is to harness talent and reduce silos. This movement is really awash in talent. There are people leaving senior agency roles, government roles, pivoting their lives and their careers because they want to make an impact on climate. But so often we're working independently, or perhaps we're the only person in our organization doing this particular line of work. And that creates silos and it duplicates effort. And one thing that I think that the opponents of climate action do really well is to find the efficiencies. So this is what this community is really designed to do. It's designed to find efficiencies so that we're not duplicating and reinventing the wheel all of the time, and that we're bringing together this huge community of great minds to start building a collective voice and a consistent message so that together we can support the transition to a cleaner, safer, fairer future. The second objective is to build capacity. One thing that I find really exciting is that the science of climate communication has grown so much in recent years. It's really almost catching up with the science of the climate itself. But as practitioners, we're so often busy, it's often hard to find that new research and to know what moves the dial. We all fall into those habits of repeating the same style of messaging, the same approaches that may no longer be adapted to this fast changing and fragmented world that we live in. So by bringing all this knowledge into one place, the idea is that we can learn from each other, grow our skills together. It's really designed to be sort of a one-stop shop for evidence-based communication, with world-class expertise and learning resources, courses, hand-selected materials so that we can all learn and grow and really improve the way that we communicate as a group. The third objective is to create community. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the more I spoke to people about what I was trying to build here, the more I saw people's eyes light up and the more they spoke to me about what a need they were feeling for genuine community, not just more social media, but like actual real life in-person conversations with people. I think there's a need for that now more than ever. We're living in very confusing, fast changing times, and just having people to talk to who get it is really incredibly important. And I wanted to make a place where we could have fun. Fun isn't just about kind of the frivolous stuff. It's not about burying our heads in the sand. It's a really important tool for resilience. Having a community of people that we can relax with, grab a coffee, grab a beer on a Friday afternoon, whatever it might be for you, helps build up our own strength and resilience so that we can get back out there feeling stronger and more determined and ready to take the action that needs to be taken. So that's something that we're going to do here. And I don't think you often get that in the climate community. So hopefully that feels good for you. It feels good for me, for sure. So what is it you're going to find here? First and foremost, I really think of this as a borderless team, a place where you can get live input and guidance from people who are experts in their field to help you amplify your impact. You can come to the community with a half-formed idea or a campaign that you're working on and just say to people, hey, what do you think of this? How would you approach this? That's what we're really trying to achieve here. As we said, it's a place to learn and grow. Not just from me, I know some things. By no means do I know all of the things. So I'm really excited to have this team of founding members with incredible expertise. And as the community grows, we're going to gather more of that and we can learn from each other. It's a place where if you're looking for climate work, maybe doing something different from what you're doing now, getting your first role in the climate community, if you're an independent, if you're looking for contracts, there's going to be places that you can find that. The rest of these I'm going to show you as part of the community tour. So I think maybe let's dive into that right now. You can take a little whistle-stop tour with me through the community platform. And once we've done that, I'm going to introduce some of our founding members, and then we'll leave some space for questions. So if something pops up for you now and you want to get it out of your brain, feel free to pop the questions in the chat. Nora's going to be keeping a record of those and she'll feed them back to me. Otherwise, feel free to throw up your hand during the Q&A session and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions. So bear with me, I'm going to switch screens here. All right, so you should be able to see now the feed page of the Climate Comms Alliance. Nora, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that at your end?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, thank you so much. So when you log into the community platform, this is the first thing that you'll see. And this is similar, this is going to be familiar to anyone who's used any form of social media previously. You'll see here we've got some new joiners to the community introducing themselves, which is really fantastic. As we scroll down, you'll start to see some posts from community members. Trish shared an amazing job with the New York Times, Dream Job Alert. So this is kind of the latest stuff that's happening in the community. Over on the left-hand menu, you'll see we've got all sorts of different channels, discussion channels for communication. So these are the places where you can have asynchronous conversations with your fellow members. So in the water cooler, this is exactly like it would be in a physical office environment, a place for casual chats, questions. We've got people sharing podcast and book recommendations. I'm looking for some input on what conferences and events I should be scheduling for next year, which is wild to think about. Over in the Ideas Lab this is really the place where I would love for you to bring what you're working on, the place where we can collaborate across different time zones, get different ideas from people, share your campaigns, share the little things that have been bubbling away for you, get that input that you're looking for. We have our jobs board, which is gathering climate communication jobs from all around the world. Like, this is focused on comms specifically because there are so many climate jobs happening around the world at the moment, which is amazing. We love to see that. But we wanted to keep the focus on communications itself. So you can see we share them with the little flag of the country where they're based so that you can more easily navigate the channel, find roles that are right for you. So you can see here we've got roles in the UK, in India, Australia, US, and so on. So we'll be posting regularly in here, but this is an open channel. So if you see an amazing role, or if you're looking to hire someone for your own team, or you're looking for a collaborator, this is the place to post it. We have as well a voice room. So if you wanted to have an actual real life conversation with a fellow member, this is the place you can go to do it. Just jump into the voice room, invite the people that you want to join, and you can have a regular call just like you would through other channels. As well, top half of the menu, you'll see we have the course section. We've got our anchor course, Mastering Climate Messaging. So this is 8 lessons across 4 different modules. You can complete the course in your own time. And this is really designed for people who might be newer to climate communication, or who might be looking for an update on what does the latest evidence say about how we do this really well. You'll find all of that in this course. You'll also see we've got a workshop here, Storytelling for Sustainability. Again, this is just a video format. You can watch it in your own time. If you're looking for some upskilling, these will constantly be added to over time. Also on the learning side, we have our documents section. So you can see these are categorized into different areas to help you navigate. We've got frameworks and templates. So this really comes down to this idea of not reinventing the wheel. If you're looking for a communications plan, or if you're looking for a framework that you can follow for your own messaging structure, this is where you can go to find that. Our research and guides section is hand-curated documents, guidelines, pieces of research, studies, and so on that are recent and designed to help inform your communications practice, to make sure that you feel like you've got your hands on what the latest evidence is on what changes people's hearts, minds, and behaviors when it comes to the climate. So again, this is constantly being updated. I'm really grateful to our founding members, some of whom are in academia and who have access to this information regularly. They're sharing it with us, enabling us to post. And if you have other pieces of research and guidelines that you found useful, please do feel free to propose them. We'd love to keep growing this over time. Next up, we have our directory. So if you're looking for a member in a particular location, if you met someone through an event and you wanted to connect with them personally, or find someone that maybe you just want to have a coffee with in real life, you can use the search and filter function to be able to do that. Another fun little feature is the matchups. So if you're looking to build your own network of other climate communicators and grow your own community within a community, this is a really fun way to do it. You can sign up to the matchups. Every second week, you'll be paired with a different member of the community. You can catch up in your own time and just get to know each other a little bit. It's a fun way, I think, to kind of make friends in a speed dating but non-threatening sort of way in the community. Last up are our events. This to me is probably the most crucial part of this community. because as I mentioned, I don't want this to be just another social network. I think there's enough of that out there. What I've heard from all of the conversations I've had, all the research that I've done, is that we're all looking for real connections. So in our events section, you'll see the event we're in right now, the launch event. We're going to have regular new member meet and greets. So again, you can just start to build relationships with the people in this community in real life, face to face. We've scheduled something called the Wednesday WIP, Wednesday Work in Progress, which is a chance for you to come to the community and get real live feedback on something that you're working on, whatever that might be, whether it's an idea, whether it's a campaign, whether it's a visual piece, just to ask people, this is your A/B testing. How does this land with you? Would you do this any differently? Have you tried this before? I think that's something that is really valuable to all of us as we look to grow and amplify our own impact. And then just the fun stuff. We have a coffee chat every second Friday. Bring your coffee in the morning. It's scheduled to Eastern time, but if it's afternoon for you, bring a different beverage, entirely optional, just to hang out, have fun, get to know each other. Again, these are going to be continuously updated. We're already looking at some really exciting panel sessions. We're looking at some on the psychology of change. We're looking at sessions with some futurists on climate visioning and how to paint a really exciting and desirable vision of the future for people. So these are the things I'm really excited about. I'm really looking forward to connecting with all of you in these spaces. On that, I promised a whistle stop tour, and it is. So I'm going to stop the share, and I'm just going to check in. We'll have a longer Q&A at the end, but are there any specific questions about the platform that people would like answered now?
Yes, there is a question from Jerome who says, can anyone join the movement?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to cover this in a little more detail shortly. We have 2 tiers of membership, and this was really important to me when I was setting this up. So there's a free tier, which gives members access to the jobs board and all of our research and events on a pay-as-you-go basis. And I really wanted to make sure that we had this so that climate communication can be accessible to anyone, no matter where they are in their journey. And then we also have a pro version for access to the full community. I might as well talk about it now, seeing as I've started. That's $19.95 a month Canadian, $195 a year, works out a little bit cheaper if you go for the annual option. And that gives you access to the full suite and just helps us to continuously provide new research, new events, make sure that this community is a really vibrant and up-to-date place for everyone. And more specifically, I realize there might be kind of a second part to that question in terms of can anyone join? That's the kind of the pricing structure, I guess. But in terms of what your role is and where you are in your climate and communications journey, heck yes, like this is a place for everybody. So it really doesn't matter whether you're a communicator, a strategist, a photographer, an economist, a scientist. If you talk about climate communication or you would like to talk about climate communication, this is for you.
Okay, Chris has also written, this looks absolutely awesome. Congratulations, Ali. And Chris has also asked a question, so I'm not sure if you want to answer now or maybe a bit later, but I'm going to read it anyways. So the question
Sure.
is, how can we use the tool to build movement-wide campaigns, part central design, highly adaptable, and fostering creativity across the climate movement? How do we move from networking to collaboration and sharing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. I think that's really important. And that is what I think we're trying to achieve, that particularly with the things like the Wednesday work in progress sessions, where we can give each other feedback on our work, support each other's growth, amplify impact. I also see organic opportunities arising where there might be campaigns that perfect fodder for collaboration. You know, two organizations might come together as a result of connecting in this community and share each other's work or contribute to a shared campaign. So I'm hoping those sorts of opportunities will arise as we go on. And I think this is really a place where you get out what you put in. So my hope is that the more people that show up and contribute and give their time and ideas, the more we'll all grow, the more we'll all have capacity to move that dial together.
There's one more question from an attendee. Are there opportunities for spaces that aren't so wide open so we can be frank about challenges among peers in a particular field of climate comms?
That's an interesting question. I maybe need to understand a little bit more about what's meant by wide open, but there's definitely opportunities where we could connect in small groups or with particular, I guess, areas of practice to have those conversations. My hope is that this is a place for frankness regardless. I think we all understand what the challenges of climate communication and climate generally are. I think we all kind of ride that roller coaster of joys and sorrows and hope and despair. And so I hope that people feel that this is a place where they can be really honest about that no matter where they are and get the support that they need from the community.
There's one more question.
Yeah.
From Jerome, is there a secure section like Signal, as some projects are up against the oil industry?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It is a private community. We don't allow people from oil and gas and related industries like lobbying firms to join. That's obviously not always super easy to police. My hope is that they won't think that we're big and important enough yet to want to be infiltrating the community. We don't have encrypted spaces. So if you're sharing a piece of work that you do feel is extremely sensitive, I would perhaps take that offline if that's genuinely a concern. But in terms of the way that we share with the community, it's very much kind of a Chatham House rules scenario. If you're sharing something that's sensitive, there would be an expectation amongst the community that that's not going to leave these four virtual walls.
No further questions at this time, Ellie.
Okay, thank you. So what we might do is jump back into our members. If you bear with me again, I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay.
Ellie, you're already sharing your screen, so just be mindful of that.
Okay. Let me jump back into. Can we see two faces here?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, these are the membership tiers that I talked about previously. I won't go into that again, but if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to shout out. Just one additional thing to cover is that we do also have an organizational membership. If you've got 3 or more people in your team, that can be kind of quite a good value for money options. So please feel free to inquire about that if that sounds like you. So next up, I wanted to take a moment to introduce some of our founding members. These people have been absolutely incredible supporters of this community, helping to build it into a space that feels really good for everybody. I think it's really kind of a demonstration in action of what this community is about. There's no way that I could have built this on my own without the guidance and support of these incredible people who've given their time and knowledge so generously, whether it's, you know, sharing their reports and resources that they have access to, or Margot, you know, generously donated our amazing logo, which is, you know, her skills are fantastic. We've got Casper in Denmark drumming up a literal Viking fleet of support on his side of the world. So hugely grateful for everybody's expertise and knowledge that have really helped to contribute to this community. I thought it might be nice to hear from some of these folks in person. So maybe Rachel, we'll start with you. Rachel Britton is the principal consultant at Vireo Communications. She's based in Washington, D.C. She is a strategic public relations expert, and before becoming an independent, she was the deputy director of external affairs at NOAA. Rachel, you're experienced in communicating complex science to a very broad audience. Could you maybe tell us what's the most valuable thing you've learned over your career, and how has continuing education and learning helped you?
Yes, well, thank you, Ali, first of all, for pulling all of this together and for pulling all of these great people together. I think I'll answer the question, but I'll just put a caveat in that I am just like everyone else here, hopefully the communicators, and so none of this may sound new to you, but maybe just reiterating. Um, what I've learned is that clarity and respect are everything. That people don't need the data dumps. They really need to understand why the science matters to them, and they need to feel like they're part of the conversation and not on the outside looking in. And then to your second part, I think continuing to learn really helps keep me sharp and humble. I don't know everything. I'm learning, and that's part of why I'm with the Alliance. I see the strength in numbers here, and it can feel very lonely sometimes when you're working on issues like climate change that are sometimes very dire. So I think whether it's a course that you're taking, sitting with scientists and listening, or listening to community members where you're working, this always helps me translate big ideas into real world meaning. And I think that's what communications is all about. So that's what keeps me going.
I love that, Rachel. Thank you. I think so spot on. Just creating a conversation is really, really essential. Appreciate that. Next up, I might throw to you, Katie. So Katie Hoy is the principal consultant at the strategy department. She's a brand strategist who works with major companies in Canada and the UK. And she also founded the LACES program, which is a social impact organization based across London. And Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe spreading globally now, which helps young women develop through football or soccer, depending on which side of the world you're on, what you would like to call it. So, Katie, you're also a founder of a social impact community in a different way. Could you maybe say a few words about why you think community matters, and particularly so when we're trying to tackle big social issues?
For sure. And I can confirm before I answer that we have gone global. So we are football and soccer because we bridge the Atlantic now in our program delivery. Community is so important, I think, when you work in this space. One, because we're often dealing with wicked problems and there's system problems. And doing that on your own and being in your own head or doing that with a small team can only get you so far. But the community is there, not just as Ali's mentioned, a sounding board, but they're also there as like, in some ways, group therapy, because sometimes the work is hard and the lows hit different because the lows are real world impact. It's not a matter of you missed a sales target or you're not flogging enough loo roll. It's that, wow, these people are going to be affected by this issue. And so because the work sits heavier, I think there's such a need for this community. And then the last point I want to make about coming together around issues pertaining to the environment, climate change, and social impact is so often a single conversation or a spark can lead to something that's a bright spot or something that actually is something that can fuel something bigger. And I think with Ali, with this community you've built, you've had a lot of conversations and you join the dots. And I see all of our work is joining the dots. So community helps us make greater impact because we're connecting those dots together and then hopefully all pushing in the same direction where it doesn't feel like we're disparate and not connected to each other.
I love that. I think that's so true. And it's so increasingly relevant in a global context. Climate is a global problem. And we're seeing from the horrible devastation happening in the Caribbean right now to flooding happening in Alaska, which is barely even making the news. So creating those global communities where those sparks kind of fly across borders is so important. I think that actually brings me really nicely into my next question. So thank you for that segue. I want to introduce Dr. Tyrone Hall. Tyrone is a public policy communicator and sustainability specialist with in-country research, intergovernmental and industry experience across the Americas, Africa, India, and the Pacific region. So, Tyrone, I think this last question, as I said, kind of leads in really nicely. You've conducted communications research across the global South, as well as here in North America. What do you think that we as communicators can learn from bringing together people with different life experiences?
Thank you, Ali. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for the opportunity to really share with such a wide group about this issue. I think there's so many things for us to learn as we come together from different backgrounds, and especially as communicators, because I think one of the missing links in kind of working on such a complex issue is that you need the skill set of communicators to weave things together, to clarify so much of the noise, the confusion, the rapid nature in which the lay of the land's shifting, whether you're speaking about impacts, trends, projections. And we uniquely as communicators have the tendency to want to clarify things, to order. And the reason that's so important as you work across borders, as I've come to understand, is impacts are uneven. So, and different people in different parts of the world are experiencing climate impacts at different scales, different paces. And so having kind of these cross-cultural experiences allows us to get early insights into what's working and what's not working. And one of the classic ways I think that works is whether you live in Canada or Europe, Asia, Latin America, wherever on the continent, across the world you exist, if you have shared life experiences, ways of living, for instance, if you're someone who's engaging with the land in Alberta versus someone who's engaging with the land in sub-Saharan Africa or Latin America, there are certain drivers that will concern you a lot more. And as the impacts cascade, if we are able to reach across cultures and note what's kind of shaping the thinking of someone who's living on the land in at one part of the world before those impacts affect another part, you can really get ahead of the curve many times. And it's communicators who really see those patterns a lot earlier and speak to them. So that's the most important one in my view. I think the other important thing we can learn as we work across cultures is we're dealing with something that's unusual in that we've never had to really communicate a crisis or an issue that is permanent. And you need to be able to respond very quickly to how to get people forward. And as we communicate across borders and across cultures, communicators have been able to kind of steady the ship in a way to create a kind of continuity in terms of communication and managing risk perceptions. The last thing that I want to draw attention to is, again, also linked with the fact that this is so complex, which is it's a whole society issue. So you have the response requires people with completely different skill sets. In the same way, you have people from across cultures, very different backgrounds experiencing this crisis. And the way you clarify all of that and to find the action points is to be able to look for cross-cultural messages, the things that are common, being able to quickly spotlight what won't work in certain contexts. And it's communicators, in my experience, who've been most primed to clarify those things and manage that complexity.
Thanks Chiron. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Communicators are so often on the front lines of how those messages are being received. They're the ones talking to members of community, or hearing back on social media how things are landing. So yeah, I agree. We kind of play a really important bridging role in those conversations. Thank you. I want to jump now to Margot Stoney. Margot is a Montana-based creative dedicated to using graphic design to save the planet. But as I mentioned, Margot designed our logo, and her absolutely beautiful illustrations have supported conservation storytelling across the US. Margot, like me, you switched from the private sector into working with climate and conservation focused clients. Why did you make that switch, and how did belonging to community-oriented groups help you?
I, like you, Ali, come from kind of the ski and snowboard background. I grew up snowboarding, and my career up until a few years ago was really driven by the ski industry, doing design and marketing. And I feel like my priorities kind of started to shift as I felt, I hate the term eco anxiety, but it is sort of what like drove me over to wanting to do more climate work and do more work in sustainability and conservation. And so about 7 years ago, I pivoted my business to work with these environmental and conservation nonprofits doing visuals and helping communicate these issues that we're dealing with, everything from public lands to river conservation and clean water, and wildlife and sustainability. And it's been really satisfying. And for a while, I thought I needed to reinvent myself and go back to school for wildlife biology or do something that was really on the ground in order to make a difference. And then I realized I could use the skills as a visual communicator that I already have to help with these messages and help with education and helping raise money and things for causes. And I would say that being part of a community like this one is, like Katie mentioned, like this work can be really heavy, and it can be really easy to kind of get in this self-feedback loop of not being able to get unstuck and feeling just like really weighed down by everything. And especially as a creative, I think it's really important to get feedback from folks on the outside. And I'm really excited about this group because of just seeing that we have scientists and other types of communicators and people all over the world to be able to get feedback on, for me, like for visuals or speaking to other folks about what they're working on and what's kind of what's currently effective in the communications world is really exciting to me. And I'm excited to connect with some other folks in this group. And I think it'll help me big time with the silo of working in climate and some of these heavier issues.
Thanks, Margot. Margot and I have been in a couple of different sort of industry focused groups together, and I've just gained so much from those myself. I think, I'm not a skilled visual communicator by any means. I'm a writer, I'm a strategist, and just learning how other people approach problems with that different mindset and seeing how incredibly powerful the use of visuals can be in telling a story. I've just gained so much from that. So yeah, thanks, Margot. I think just bringing all those different skills together is so valuable. Last up, I want to throw to Alison Daisley. Alison, who has an excellent name, by the way, is the founder of Daisley for Good, which is a Toronto-based communications and marketing agency. And she's also a mentor with the city's Women for Climate program. So, Ali, could you maybe share some thoughts about the importance of community and how we can support the next generation of climate communicators?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone, and greetings from Toronto. I feel like the conversation of community is very poignant for Torontonians right now because we have a baseball team who's made it to the World Series, which for many of you who don't know, that's like the top event, or the highest the highest award that you could get in baseball. So I feel like we're all experiencing like the electricity that community can bring right now, which is that you feel connected to people and you feel like a good sort of good natured towards them and all those type of things. And I think it does, like I always say to myself, man, I wish that we could bring the World Series to climate, or we could bring, the World Cup or whatever it is to climate, because there's just all this energy and it's all focused and like it's all focused in one direction. And so I feel like things like this, in terms of the opportunity to connect, and Ali, thank you for bringing us together. And as they say, don't agonize, organize. And I think it's true. You have these like climate anxieties, or you feel like whether you're working for yourself or within a team, I think it can feel isolating. And I think that's obviously been echoed by all of the speakers that have joined us today. But I think that the opportunity to feel some electricity and to go and fill your cup in all of the ways that you've created within this community, creating those spaces for these things to happen. And I really do think that from my experiences as I've sought out community, and there's loads of people can have loads of ways to find it, whether it's their church or a sport or whatever it is. But I think that there's so many wonderful benefits that can be derived by joining a community. And I think that, again, you've created all these wonderful spaces to knit people together and to be able to make that happen. And I feel like it's the charge that we all need as we navigate this. And as more and more people come into this space, I think it just helps, amplify everything that we're doing. So it's everything.
Thanks, Ali. I love that. Blue Jays is just the perfect analogy. That there's footage, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, even if you're not Canadian, I recommend checking it out.
Even if you don't like baseball, it's palpable.
Even if you don't like baseball, listen to the entire stadium singing "Oh Canada" in the first game. It will absolutely send chills up your spine.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we could replicate that for climate, I mean, wow, what a world we'd live in.
Yeah. Talk about what we're running toward, not what we're running from.
100%. Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate the introductions, and I'm really sorry I wasn't able to personally introduce everybody on this call. We've got 16 amazing founding members from all different places around the world. So if you would like to chat with them personally, please do consider joining the community. But I want to make sure that I'm leaving some time for questions. And by the way, if you do have questions for our panelists as well, I will throw them under the bus and offer for them to answer some questions also. But perhaps, Nora, we can jump back to you and you can let us know if any questions have come through in the chat.
There's two comments from Jerome, and I just wanted to read them out loud to you. The first one, it says, "It is looking promising." And the second one, "This is truly amazing. I don't feel alone anymore."
Oh, I love that. Thank you. That is the point. This is why we're here. That's so great to hear.
And Ali, if you don't mind going to chat and just scroll up, there's a note for you. Meanwhile, for everybody else, if you wish to ask questions, you may write them in the Q&A chat box or raise your hand and I'll make sure to unmute you.
Thanks, Nora. Yeah.
Okay, Ali, I'm going to continue because there's a few comments are coming in. Catherine
Go
said,
ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Catherine says, "Not a question, but a comment. Wow, this is a fantastic community and so excited to get involved."
Amazing. Thanks, Catherine.
Jessica says, "For someone that is climate communications adjacent, ESG reporting and strategy, how do you recommend we can contribute to the Alliance?"
I think the value that this community provides for folks who don't necessarily consider themselves climate communicators, in my mind, is significant, because you have access to this huge pool of resources to ask questions about how using sound and evidence-based communication practices can support your work. I speak in my own consultancy, I speak with a lot of ESG managers who are frequently the only ones in their organization. They're the ones that need to go to the senior executive team, go to the board, to try and encourage them to get the company to talk about the steps that they're taking towards sustainability. So I think this community can kind of give you some more tools in your toolkit to be able to do that, to be able to show you what people want to hear, how they want to hear it, how to make those messages land effectively, how to allay some of the fears that are out there at the moment about talking about climate and sustainability at the corporate level. So my hope is that that's what this community will bring. And vice versa, I think it's incredibly important for communicators to hear from people in other roles about how they think the communications are working, what needs to be done differently, what people in boardrooms or community, ground floor of the community are saying as well.
And a note from Jessica, go Blue Jays.
Whoop, whoop.
There's a question from one of the attendees who says, how do we share the alliance with other groups?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. Obviously, everyone is welcome. So please just feel free to share the website link or the joining link. If you're doing it digitally, let people know that we exist. We do also have an affiliate program. So if you were wanting to invite your own community into the Alliance, we have a program where you get back, I think it's about 20% of their membership fees for the first year. So, you're not going to buy a house out of it, but it might buy you a few coffees, and hopefully that helps to bring more and more talent into this space.
Another comment from Savannah. So excited for this as someone looking to break into the climate conservation space. Next,
Amazing, Savannah.
Next is a question from Jerome. Again, sorry if I'm saying your names wrong. Apologies. Are there any constructive journalists on the team so far?
We do have a couple of journalists. Constructive might be a new term for me, but we've certainly got people who are journalists and have journalistic backgrounds.
Okay, and next question is from Randy. Sorry, next comment is from Randy. We can all invite 50 contacts a month to follow the Climate Communications LinkedIn page. Another 50 invites on November 1st.
Thanks, Randy. Love it.
Lee says, similar to Jessica, what about other issues besides climate, wildlife conservation? Is there space for those also? Great initiative.
Thanks, Lee. Yes, absolutely. I think this is a space for climate, conservation, sustainability. We just couldn't put all of those in the title because it would be very, very long otherwise.
No further questions at this point, but Ali, just a reminder, if you can scroll the way up in your chat, there was a mentioning of your name and something to read.
Okay, thank you. Let me scroll up.
And while we wait, just another reminder, if you wish to ask a question, you can use the Q&A chat box or raise your hand.
Yes, please do throw your questions out there. And an excellent reminder to mention that we have a Substack publication. And I skipped that in my notes, with huge apologies to Rachel, who did an extraordinary job getting that set up. And that's going to be a space where we're sharing the latest in thought leadership from the climate communications space. So just another avenue for you to be able to learn, hopefully to share some ideas that are thought-provoking. And we'll also be taking submissions for that. So if there's people that are interested in contributing, that's something that we'll be looking at down the line as well. Just trying to make sure that as many people as possible have free and unfettered access to the latest in climate communications thinking and research. So again, that is called Shift Happens, and please follow us on Substack.
Next question is from Maria. I wonder if Margot would be willing to share her thoughts, inspiration behind the logo and branding of the Alliance, the color choice.
Sure. It was very, oh, Ali, do you want me to talk?
Go, Margot, go for it.
It was very collaborative. Ali and I kind of worked on it together, and she had a lot of great ideas, and we worked through a little bit of a project brief, and wanted it to look different than other climate groups or other similar organizations because it's so easy. I love green in the climate space. It gets used a lot with environmental work, but it's really nice and refreshing to have kind of a different look that's clean and approachable and easy to read. So thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Margot. Yeah, it was just to add to what Margot said, it was really important to me. I think so often, particularly when we're trying to knock on the doors of policymakers, the climate movement gets seen as this kind of cute little grassrootsy group that kind of exists over here and, you know, with these utopian visions, and that we're not sort of realistic, serious people. And my goal is to really move away from that impression. So, you know, when I spoke with Margot, I said, how can we make this look bold and modern and a place where everybody's welcome, no matter whether they've grown up in the climate movement or, you know, they're the most senior person at, you know, a big global bank. Everyone should feel like this is a place for them.
No further questions at this point.
Okay, perfect. Well, with that said, I want to thank everybody again so much for joining. I've really had fun presenting this, and I think this is why I wanted to create this community, because it means that I get to come out here and talk to you and hear from you and learn new things. And my hope is that that is why you're here as well. I do have, if I can get my screen to shift, I do have a little offer for anyone who is interested in signing up after today. If you use the code launch25 because you came along to this presentation, you can get 20% off your pro membership. So hopefully that's just a little bit of a helping hand and a little bit of a thank you for coming along today. So I will be sharing the recording of this session for anyone who might want to share it with others or wasn't able to make it today. And if you do get to the end of this session and think, oh shoot, I had a question I really wanted to ask, you're always welcome to do that. My email is just info@climatecomsalliance.org. Really easy to find me. So feel free to ask any other questions or share any thoughts you might have. This space is a growing space. My goal is that we all contribute to making it better. So please know that, you know, your ideas and thoughts and suggestions are always super welcome as well. So that is all, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to let you get back to your afternoons and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.